Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Ibrahim Traoré's era. France is not just falling, France is sinking, and this time, it may not rise again. Just a few days ago, the world watched in disbelief as Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu resigned after only 26 days in office. He was called the savior of France's economy, but he quit saying the truth. The debt was out of control, the markets were trembling, and the people were impossible to please. He became the fifth prime minister to resign within a single year. 5 collapses in 12 months, a record of failure. France has become a ship without a captain, drifting in chaos. But what happened next was even more shocking. After searching desperately for a replacement, President Emmanuel Macron reappointed the same man, Sébastien Lecornu, as prime minister again. Yes, the same leader who had already quit, saying the system was unsavable. Macron brought him back because no one else wanted the job. Not one politician, economist, or technocrat was willing to take control of a sinking ship. Even Lecornu admitted privately, "This government is drowning. I'm returning to steer a ship that has already hit the iceberg," and yet he had no choice. Macron begged him to return, because without a prime minister, the government would collapse completely. France, once called the pillar of Europe, is now running on desperation. The French economy has entered a death spiral. Their national debt has crossed 3.4 trillion euros, over 114% of their GDP. Factories are closing, industries are dying, and electricity prices are rising again because France no longer receives cheap uranium from Niger. 2 of its nuclear plants remain offline, and experts are warning of nationwide blackouts this winter. Investors are fleeing. Businesses are relocating. Citizens are angry, hungry, and hopeless. They say Macron has betrayed them, spending billions on foreign wars while his people cannot afford food or rent. It is madness, a government funding war abroad while poverty grows at home. And the truth is, this collapse began the day Africa said no more. When Traoré, Goïta, and Tiani cut off France from the Sahel, the empire's golden lifeline snapped. The gold, uranium, oil, and cotton that kept France rich for 50 years vanished overnight. Now France looks like a thief locked out of the kitchen, starving because it can no longer steal from Africa's table. The Sahel nations are calm but firm. They know what their silence means. They understand that every day France bleeds, Africa breathes easier. Even the French press now uses the word collapse. They admit that France is becoming ungovernable, that the president is losing control, and the economy is beyond saving. This is no longer a financial crisis, it is the slow death of an empire. And France is not alone. The entire Western system built on Africa's exploitation is cracking. France just happens to be the first to sink. When Lecornu resigned, he said quietly, "The system has collapsed. The numbers no longer make sense." He was right. The debt is too high. The cost of living has exploded. Electricity bills have doubled. Food prices have risen by more than 40%. Factories that once produced billions are closing their gates. Workers are being laid off, and there is no plan to save them. Macron's so-called wealth tax failed miserably. The rich simply packed their money and moved to Switzerland, Dubai, and yes, even to Africa. The irony is cruel. The same continent that France once mocked is now the refuge for its fleeing elites. Inside the government, chaos reigns. Macron's ministers are divided. Some want to rebuild ties with the Sahel, to reopen trade with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Others refuse, saying France cannot be seen begging Africa. And that arrogance is what is killing France. They forgot who kept their factories alive. They forgot that the uranium from Niger powered their homes, the gold from Burkina Faso strengthened their banks, and the oil from Chad ran their machines. Now that Africa has locked its resources inside its own borders, France is gasping for air. The Sahel, however, is calm. Traoré is building. Goita is restructuring. Tiani is fortifying. They do not need to shout. Their silence speaks louder than any speech. That silence terrifies France, because silence means power, focus, and direction. France's Prime Minister, the same one who once ran away, is now back in charge of a government no one respects. He promises to rebuild trust and reduce spending. But how do you cut budgets without riots in the streets? How do you earn trust when the people no longer believe in the system itself? France has built a trap and fallen into it. Even its European allies are backing away. Germany, Italy, and Spain no longer want to discuss France's debt in public. They know that one more collapse could drag the whole European Union into recession. Without Niger's uranium, France now buys the same resource from Canada and Kazakhstan at 5 times the price. The same uranium they once took for free is now draining their economy. Their power plants are weak. Their car industry is shrinking. Their steel industry is dying. And tourism, once their pride, is collapsing because no one wants to visit a country filled with protests and police sirens. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is undeniable. The same France that once exploited Africa now needs Africa to survive. But the Sahel has changed. The tables have turned. When France used ECOWAS to punish Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, they thought the Sahel would surrender. Instead, the 3 nations united, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, expelling Western troops and building new partnerships with Russia, China, and Iran. The West called it rebellion. Africa called it freedom. And now, as France sinks deeper into economic despair, the Sahel rises stronger each day. Even Le Monde, France's top newspaper, has confessed. Without Africa's resources, France cannot maintain its global influence or internal stability. That one sentence tells the whole story. France is trying to sneak back into Africa through ECOWAS, pretending to rebuild partnerships. But everyone knows the game. The same France that once called Traoré and Goita dictators now calls them partners. But this time, Africa will not fall for the lie. As Captain Traoré said clearly, we do not hate France, but we will never again serve any foreign power that disrespects our people. France is learning the hard way that Africa has moved on. The continent they once ruled now holds the key to their survival. Macron's government is collapsing. The people are in the streets shouting, "Macron must go." His own ministers whisper the same words behind closed doors. France has lost its wealth, its unity, and its dignity. And yet Macron still pretends that everything is fine, walking with pride while his nation burns. But no one believes him anymore. Not the people, not the parliament, not the markets. Ladies and gentlemen, France is not falling. France is sinking. Its economy is broken, its people are divided, and its empire has ended. Meanwhile, Africa is rising, united, confident, and determined to build its own destiny. Burkina Faso, under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is the symbol of courage. Niger, under General Abdourahmane Tiani, is the symbol of strength. Mali, under Colonel Assimi Goïta, is the symbol of defiance. Together, they have built a wall that no empire can break. France's time is over. Africa's time has begun. This is Ibrahim Traoré's era.